Hello there. So in this video, I'm going to show you a difficult skill. So out of all the skills we've done, this one is probably going to be very difficult for many of you. So H.3 is about identifying supporting evidence in a text. So what I've noticed with these examples that will make it difficult is vocabulary, one. And two, they're going to force you to read a chunk of a text to determine which piece of information from that text best supports the claim. Now think of it this way. We've been doing this throughout the entire year. Think back to the house on Mango Street. We just did these assignments. And Mrs. Recio would ask you a question about the chapter, a reflection question. And then she would ask you to support that answer with evidence from the text. So you had to go back into the text and find the best piece of evidence from that vignette that best supported your answer, right? Same thing for the double entry journals. We would ask you a question, you would make a claim in your commentary, and then you had to go back and find the best piece of evidence that supported what you were saying. That's what we're going to do here in this activity, okay? So when making claims or other arguable statements in your writing, you want to make sure you can support those claims with concrete evidence from the sources, especially reliable sources. When you're looking at that evidence and when you're incorporating that evidence to support that commentary, your writing becomes more accurate, okay? You're starting to support your opinions with facts, which makes you a better persuader. It makes you better at arguing your point and getting your point across. Okay, so let's look at some examples. This one says, when writing an essay about a piece of literature, you might support a claim by quoting evidence from the text, such as, Patrick was not fearless. Rather, he took action despite his fear. So if I want to say that Patrick had no fear, I need to find evidence to support that. This evidence says that Patrick bites his nails anxiously. Finally, he took a deep breath, nodded to himself with conviction, and burst into the room. So despite having that fear, he still took action. That evidence supports that statement. Let's look at this other one. The majority of American adults are married. And evidence that could support that would say, a 2011 poll found that 50% of U.S. adults are married. That is majority, 50.8. Let's look at some practice examples here. So the way that they're going to present this is they're going to give you a claim, and then you can choose multiple pieces of evidence that you feel support that claim. So the claim says that Patty is a very thoughtful person. Let's read the passage and see which evidences support this claim, that she is thoughtful. There were people with whom her style of self-deprecation didn't sit well. So my suggestion for this activity so that you do well, I suggest Googling the words that you don't understand. Okay? For this case, if you don't know what self-deprecation means, I would go to Google, I would search for define self-deprecation, and then read the definition. And here it says, modesty about or criticism of oneself. So we see that Patty criticizes herself. Maybe she's hard on herself. She expects a lot from herself, and when she doesn't achieve that, maybe she beats herself up in her head about it. So there are people with whom her style of self-deprecation didn't sit well, who detected a kind of condescension in it, as if Patty, in exaggerating her own minor defects, were too obviously trying to spare the feelings of less accomplished homemakers. But most people found her humility sincere, or at least amusing, and it was in any case hard to resist a woman whom your own children liked so much, and who remembered not only their birthdays, but yours too, and came to your back door with a plate of cookies or a card. So the cool thing about this activity is it kind of already shows you what they're thinking about for evidences. So if you put your pointer on each of the sentences, you see how it highlights for you which sentences they're looking as evidence to support. It kind of forces you to choose specific types of sentences. So when I'm thinking about Patty being a very thoughtful person, I want to look for evidence that shows that she thinks of others before herself. She puts other people's feelings and other people's needs before her own. So one sentence that pops out at me right away is the one at the end, where it says that she not only remembers their birthdays, but she comes to your door with a plate of cookies or a card. That's very thoughtful to do that. It's hard to remember your friends and family's birthdays, but not just that, most of us just send a text. She'll actually show up with cookies and a card. So I'm going to click on that evidence. Notice how it's highlighted in green. That's how you know you've selected that evidence to support. I'm thinking this might be the only thing that really shows that she is a very thoughtful person. So I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. And we did it. Nice. Let's look at a second example, okay? So the statement says, Eleanor Roosevelt's relationship with the media was unlike that of any first lady before her. So we're looking for evidence that best supports this statement that Mrs. Roosevelt had a relationship with the media that was different from any other president's wife, okay? Let's read the passage. When Mrs. Roosevelt came to the White House in 1933, she understood social conditions better than any of her predecessors, and she transformed the role of the First Lady accordingly. She never shirked official entertaining. So like I said earlier, if you don't know what a word means, the best way to be successful at this activity is to Google it. So I went to Google and searched for define shirk. And they said that it meant to avoid or to neglect a duty or responsibility. So from here I can see that she never abused the ability or the responsibility of official entertaining. She greeted thousands with charming friendliness. She also broke precedent to hold press conferences, travel to all parts of the country, give lectures and radio broadcasts, and express her opinions candidly in a daily syndicated newspaper column, My Day. This made her a tempting target for political enemies, but her integrity, her graciousness, and her sincerity of purpose endeared her personally to many, from heads of state to servicemen she visited abroad during World War II. So it says that I can choose multiple pieces of evidence that support the claim that Mrs. Roosevelt had a relationship with the media that was unlike that of any other first lady that came before her. So right away, I want to choose this one. I know this is a good evidence because it tells me that she broke precedent. That means like traditions and what the past had. She changed what past people did. She held press conferences, that's with the media. She gave lectures and radio broadcasts, media. She also wrote a newspaper column, that's also media. I also like the evidence up here. Oh, it's only letting me choose one. I guess that must be the answer. Let's hit submit. So when they say there may be more than one correct choice, it must be like if you choose one, it could be one or the other, and they'll give you the credit. I thought maybe we had to pick two, because I thought from the other example I was going to choose the second one. So it must be if you choose either one of those, they're going to give you credits. So that goes and concludes this video. If you need help with this, I totally understand. This is quite difficult. After watching this video, if you feel you're still struggling with this skill, please make sure that you're logging into my office hours on Zoom from 10:30 to 11:30 or from 3 in the afternoon to 4. Most of the time I'm sitting there alone. That's where I am right now. I'm sitting here in my office hour. I've been here for an hour and nobody has shown up. So a lot of the times I'm alone and we can hang out one-on-one and I can tutor you with any of these IXLs and help you accomplish that skill. So let me know what you need. I'm here for you. I hope you have a great day. See you later.